Hello everybody, I'm back. My name is Ray. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the most incredible rock albums, not metal albums, of all time. It was in 1986 and things happened kind of quickly because the whole music world changed, well, for people who were into Van Halen, changed in 1985. And then within a year they both come out with new albums. Van Halen releasing 5150 and David Lee Roth releasing Eat 'Em and Smile. One of the most incredible friggin' albums ever. You just imagine the people who are around within the industry and other people, even fans, who are thinking, hey, you know, what the heck, what is David Lee Roth going to do now? How is he going to replace Eddie Van Halen? You know, how is this even going to be possible? But he really lucked out, and who knows, I'm not sure specifically how we found Vi, but somehow, with luck, would have it. And of course, he knew Billy Sheehan from when Talus opened up for Van Halen. And then when he got Steve Vai, you know, a lot of people, of course, at this time, at this stage in 1986, there were a lot of people who were kind of, you know, new to the scene and didn't really know who Steve Vai was. There probably was some people who were aware of the whole Frank Zappa thing and Alcatraz thing. Most of the people didn't know. So we were just like, yeah, hey, who the heck's this skinny guy with long black hair who's awesome at guitar? Not to take away anything from Greg Bissonette, because Greg Bissonette did a great job drumming on this album, but it was Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai who were the, you know, newer stars of this album. Of course, David Roth was the main star, but you know what I mean. Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan were the new guys, where people were like, hey, holy shit, these guys are awesome. And of course, it's not until years later when you discover, when you re-listen to those albums and stuff like that, you notice how incredible, like, the bass is and everything. But right off the bat, we knew the guitar was awesome. It's an epic intro, Yankee Rose. It starts off with that wicked chord, and then Steve Vai, you know, what? And I don't want to mimic it, it's because it looks stupid. But that whole part where he's talking, and then, you know, there's that slide, and, you know, does all that stuff, and with the guitar talk, between the guitar talk and David Roth, it was just such a really cool, epic intro, and it was really neat, and it was just like magical. And the album cover is really strange and interesting too. It's just David Roth's face on it with this some kind of tribal makeup. I'm not sure what the point of that was, you know, like Eat 'Em and Smile. But Eat 'Em and Smile was just one of those records, it was just a comeback record. And yes, a lot of fans like me compared it to 5150. Now, I like Sammy Hagar, but this was just better than 5150. This album wasn't perfect though. There was a couple of things on, there was a couple of cover tunes, Tobacco Road and That's Life, a Frank Sinatra song. Also covered on the album is the song Shy Boy, which was originally done by Talus. Once again, a lot of people didn't know who Billy Sheehan was, but Talus opened up for Van Halen back in the day, so that's how they met, and they noticed right away, of course, what an awesome bass player Billy Sheehan was. So, one of the original songs on here, one of the really cool songs, is Elephant Gun, and you can hear Billy Sheehan's bass wickedly on there. And what he's doing, I'm not sure what it's called, while he's tapping and trilling, he's hitting on like the same fret. That's why it sounds kind of like rapid. And Billy Sheehan's really good at bass tapping, which is, he's good at that. And it just showcases his talent on that song, and it's just a really cool bass line.
Cool. Well, yeah, Eat 'Em and Smile was made the way records should be made. It was made very much.
The album was produced by Ted Templeman, and it was a really just awesome album. I have the album right here. See, there's the glare on it from the sun. That's how I use tapestries. So it was just an incredible album. There is a Spanish version of this too. So that's also a really cool, interesting thing, that there is a Spanish version. I was down at the local record store one day, and it's probably like in 87, 88, and I was looking, and I saw the David Roth album, and it looked like a different title, looked like the same colors and everything. So I look at it, I look at the front of it, and it was like, wow, this is a really cool, interesting thing. I look on the back, and with very little Spanish, even though I'm Spanish heritage myself, I don't know really too much Spanish. But I looked at it back and I go, this album is the Spanish version. Huh. On tape cassette, of course. So I figured I'd get the tape cassette because I figured it'd be a collector's item. Just like with all those things I bought at Harlequin at the time, I wind up getting rid of them. Wish I never did, but I did get a lot of cool stuff there at that record store. So anyways, I brought it home and it was really cool that there was a Spanish version of that too. So that's also another tidbit of information for those of you who don't know. It's really interesting. He just, of course, took all the backing tracks and then just sang it in Spanish over the vocals. So it's pretty much identical, with the exception of it's sung in Spanish. So I thought that was really cool and neat. Anyways, the songs on there are just incredible. Ladies Night in Buffalo. The original songs on there are awesome. Ladies Night in Buffalo, Yankee Rose, Going Crazy, all those songs. And then, of course, the videos. The music videos for them were like this whole dialogue of comedic proportions, or I don't even know how to specifically describe it. The intros were long, funny, and somewhat, I guess, corny and everything. But with Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan and Greg Bissonette, they created one of the most incredible rock albums of all time. Just the songs on there are wicked. Billy Sheehan's bass playing on there is awesome. You listen closely, you can hear the bass awesomely. And then, of course, with Steve Vai's guitaring. And after listening to Steve Vai's stuff, whether it's Zappa stuff or Flexible or something, you will see and you will hear the difference of the Steve Vai-ness in there. So, of course, what they do, by 1988, they kind of recaptured that magic on this one. The Skyscraper is kind of a review for Skyscraper too. Skyscraper was the follow-up to Eat 'Em and Smile. And what's really interesting about this album cover, it's one of the coolest album covers ever, because David Lee Roth is talent on that song, and it's just a really cool bass line. There's some funny lyrics on the album, some really cool lyrics like in Yankee Rose, but then there's some weird ones like this. Cherry Blue and Mighty Mouse, kinda quiet. So this album is just one of those albums that it's high energy rock and roll. It's cool, it's great, it's awesome songs on there. Wicked musicianship. This was perfect timing on how 1986 they both came out with albums. They didn't waste any time putting bands together and coming out with albums. This one I think is just better. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, we got the Power Twins here, man. Enough with the opening act. It's showtime.
Now, in conclusion, there's a lot of people who are talking about and want the whole Steve Vai and, Billy Sheehan, Roth reunion. And, of course, with Greg Bissonette, too. That would be awesome. But after, they got free time and they were no longer obliged to anything, and have obligations to fulfill within a band, like Van Halen, of course, or anything else like that. They could have, and they could have even done it before. People have been talking about this for years. But here's my point. Here's what I'm getting at. If you got David Lee Roth, Greg Bissonette, Steve Vai, and Billy Sheehan back into the studio and in their room again and say, oh, do it just like how you did before, that formula, it would be really hard and difficult to recreate that magic. It's a different time. They're all older. They are all older. I'm sure Roth could do it. I'm sure Billy Sheehan and Steve Vai could, of course, physically do it, musicianship-wise. But I don't know. It would be an interesting thing. But some of those reunion albums are. It's like, well, it's not as good as their other stuff. They didn't beat their masterpieces that they did in the 80s. Just like with any single band. Every single one of those bands, whether it's Mötley Crüe or Whitesnake or whoever, these other bands that come back, they just don't create that magic. The question here is today, do you remember when this album came out? And did you compare it to 5150? I'm pretty sure you did. And did you like 5150 better than this, or did you like this one? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. That's it. More music to come, more heavy metal albums to come and all that stuff. Thanks a lot.